Hi everyone, my name's Nina. Normally I work out of Coldsdale Recovery College, but at the moment, like so many others, I'm working from home. Today I'm hoping to go through a quick step-by-step guide to hopefully allow you to make wire flowers using beads at home. Now I understand during these difficult times you might find it very difficult to get some of the materials that are required to make this little project. However, you are able to get most of this stuff from either your local craft store or places like The Range. If you are completely shielding, you are also able to get this on the internet, although it may take a little bit longer to obviously get to you. So this is what we're aiming to end up with, this lovely little flower here. Now as you can see, you're going to need a button, and I bet people have got everyone will have like a button at least lying around, but you can also pick these up in packs. You're also going to need the beads and also the wire. Now the beads that this is using, as you can see, are very, very small. To give you a bit of an idea, that is the size of them, and they are called seed beads. Now this is what you normally make this with. It's entirely up to you if you do. If you do want to go for the slightly bigger beads, which is something along the lines of this, be more than welcome to. However, I would advise when we are measuring out the wire, you take a little bit extra off. Now the wire that I am using is crafting wire. The reason I've gone with crafting wire is it's mainly so that I'm hoping that you guys can see it. Now the bit that I've already cut off is just fallen on the floor, so I do apologise. If you want to, you're more than welcome to use this. However, I will warn you now, it is tougher to twist. However, jewellery wire, it is a little bit thinner, but it is more prone to breaking when you're doing the twist. You'll understand as we talk through it, because there is a lot of twisting with this. The only thing with this is if it does kink, it takes a bit of time to just unkink the wire so that you can get either the beads on, or just to be able to manoeuvre the wire itself. Now when we are measuring out, as I say, it's usually about 4 foot we're aiming for. Now I do understand that obviously a lot of people don't have access to measuring tapes. The best trick that you can do is once you find the end, you get hold of it with your hand, unravel it, stretch your arm out wide and bring the wire across your chest so you get to about, say, here. You cut it off at about there, so you end up with a really big piece of wire, if you can see that. Now for the first inner petal, if you will, because as you might have noticed, there's like 3 petals for one big petal. So to get this, if you're using the seed beads, I normally count 11. Now as you can see, there is a gap. Don't worry about that at all. I still do it, and I've made umpteen of these flowers. It's absolutely fine. The flower will still look amazing at the end of it, so don't worry about it at all. I just normally start off with 11, just so that I know that each inner petal is 11. However, even these seed beads slightly different in size. Just for starting off, to show you how we start off, I'm going to use the slightly bigger bead in a dark colour just so that you guys can see it. So I'm going to use this one, which I've just shown you. Now for this example, I'm actually only going to start with 8, just to get us going really, and then you can actually see how I do. Oops. And you will find that you drop a lot, so your hoover's going to really love you for these. So once you've got your beads on and you're happy with it, what you then need to do is with the end, you need to sort of measure 10 centimetres. Now what I tend to do is do the length of my thumb. So using my nail, I push the beads down, but don't let them go all the way down because they'll just fall off the end. And once you've got it so that you've got a decent gap, as you can see, you start arching them. And as you arch them, if you can twist the wire which is a little bit difficult. So you end up with them crossed like this. Now if I let go of this, all these beads are going to go everywhere. So to anchor it, you need to twist it. So the best way to do is get hold of the two bottom pieces and twist the rounded bit at least 2 or 3 times, depending on your wire. I've done this 3 times because I'm hoping you guys can see this. So this is what it'll look like. Now don't worry about that at all. As you do build it, you will, that's what the button hides in the end. But as you do build it, you will notice it, and sometimes they'll actually disappear depending on how the beads are sitting anyway. Now I don't tend to count my next set of petal beads. It's entirely up to you. If you do, you feel free to, if that's what makes you feel most comfortable. But what I do basically is I get my next colour or my next set of beads, however you want to do it, if you're doing it the same. And as I've put quite a big batch on, so I might get to about up here, and I start working the wire around the first petal till I get to that point. Now sometimes you might have a few extra beads, just pull them off, that's absolutely fine. But once you get so that the beading's about here and it's next to the first twist, anchor it again, so you're twisting it again. So 1, 2. Now this has gone a little bit off with it not actually having any beads, but as you can see, it anchors again. So what you will have is those 2 sets. You do the same thing again. If you want to count it, you're more than welcome to, but I just form it round because in my eyes flowers don't have to be equal in any shape or form. This one I've done the same. As you can see, this one's like one of the bigger petals. But again, you use the same technique. You wind it round once you've got as many beads on and then anchor it. Once you've got to that point, you're going to have something that looks like this. Now, as you can see, this end's a lot shorter than what this is. So you're going to have a lot more wire to deal with. But just for this video, I've done a few shorter samples, so I'm hoping that you guys will be able to see it. So again, what you do, and I'm going to go with the bigger beads just to show you. You go to your next, to do your next petal basically. So you start adding your beads onto the wire as you did before. So you end up with them in a line again, leaving about 1 centimetre between the anchor point of the first one up to about here. So for example like that, you twist them again. So you will end up with the longer bit up here and the shorter bit down here, and you anchor it. You should end up with something that looks like this basically, and then you start the whole process again. So you're getting the second and the third. So using the longer end, putting all the beads on, working it round and then anchoring it. By the time you've finished your second one, you'll have something that resembles this basically, but obviously with longer ends. Again, you leave 1 centimetre, you move on to your next 11, if you will. So you end up with something like this, and basically you do that, you carry on until you end up with 5 petals in total. So you'll end up with something that resembles a bit of a funky flower. Now from here, if you just shape your flower into how you want it, twist the 2 wires together, make sure they're both on the same side, just to give it a little bit of anchorage, so then you can manoeuvre the wire a little bit easier. Pick the side that you prefer and put your button onto there. Now it's entirely up to you. Even if it's on the same side of the wire, it's not too much of a big deal. Just make sure the anchorage is pretty flat and then your button gets a bit closer to the flower. If you're doing it on the opposite side, you're going to have to manoeuvre the wire through the other wire and the beading to anchor, and then come back round and anchor in again through the button. So you end up with something a bit like, oops, so you're pushing that wire through. This is where your pliers might come in if it's a little bit stiff or you've worked the wire a bit too much like I have. So then I hook the button on. Now this has got 4 holes, but for the sake of this video I'm only going to go through 2. So you pull it till it's tight, and then you go back through, so it's a bit like sewing. Go back through, try not to stab yourself with the wire as it comes back through. Pull it. Oops. Now sometimes, because obviously the wiring, it does go a little bit off centre. Just move it back. Again, it's just about playing with the wire. It also doesn't help, I've not done it in the right holes in all fairness. Until, just move it until you're happy with it. And then once again, you can anchor it. Once you've got to this stage and you've got like these really bizarre little bits of wire left, because that is literally all you will have out of about 4 foot of wire, it's entirely up to you. You're more than welcome to make it into a brooch, which is what this normally is. So the brooch backing I've used, as you can see, has got little holes, and you kind of just thread it through a bit like what we've just done with the button, and again anchor it, cutting off any of the excess. Makes a lovely little brooch. This one that I've done hasn't got a backing, but if you look, the wiring's pretty flat. I've got it really quite tight and then done it so that, and then hooked all the wire in and cut off any of the excess that is cutting out. This is a really nice one if you say want to make it part of a necklace, or if there's anything else that you fancy doing with it, or maybe stitching it onto somewhere, putting felt on it, anything along those lines. I've also done flowers where I've made them into little bits of arts and crafts. So like with this one where I've still got quite a big like chunk of wire left over, for example, I've threaded it through, put a little bit of a hole in the piece of card, threaded it through, anchored it to the back of the card, and then glued it, and made a little bit of an art thing with it, a bit of a craft thing, and I actually did that as a bit of a present for someone and put it in a frame. So that was pretty cool. If you do find that you're getting a bit confident with it and you fancy branching out a little bit, you're more than welcome to. And in all fairness, it's not that hard once you've got a bit of a technique behind you. And in actual fact, I did this. Again, as you can see, it's with the bigger beads. Now, I did do this as a brooch. However, this is very, very loose because I did it as an extra piece of wire, and then I've threaded it through because I used the 2 ends that you would normally have for at the end. She will still have these 2, and I've used them as the antennas, hence the reason why this isn't fixed on as well as it would normally be. But you can play about with it. Again, like I say, it's the same sort of technique. All I've just done is the inner petals or inner part of the wing. These are slightly different. So these 2 here are the same. Those 2 there are the same. And that's all I've done. I have to admit, I've not been as creative as what you possibly could be with this wire and this technique. I have only done butterflies and flowers. However, if anybody does need to ask me anything, I will try and help. Or if you've got a bit of an idea, just give us a shout and we'll see if we can try and do it. Or if you do come up with anything and you want to show it us, and or anything like that, you're more than welcome to. You can send us a picture if you want. It's entirely up to you. But if you do decide to go with this little project, I wish you all the best of luck. It is a nice little thing and it can be quite mindful. And in all fairness, it can while away. A simple flower can take an hour, if not more, to do, depending on obviously what's going on. It's also, especially with the bigger beads, it's also kind of a cool one for the older children to do as well. Even my little boy, who's only 5's had a go, but with beads this size. So it's entirely up to anybody what they want to do with it and things like that. And it's a good start if you do decide that you want to maybe go into jewellery as well. So as I say, I wish you all the best of luck. I hope you stay safe and we'll hopefully see you soon. Okay, thanks. Bye.